Hello and welcome back. In the last video, I provided you with the challenge of creating the second collection of our database. The name of that collection is Musicians. I hope that you were able to perform that task on your own, and if you were stuck at anywhere, let's go over the solution together now. There's no exact solution of how you could have created that collection. You in fact could have inserted each document one at a time, or you can insert them all at once using the insert many method. I personally am going to use the insert many method. Let's begin now. First, let's write our code in a text editor and then copy the code after we've verified all of the syntax is correct, and then paste it into the MongoDB console. So first, we're looking to create a collection by the name of Musicians. Let us first write the code to insert all of the code. We will do db musicians insert, and I would like to use the insert many method. Insert many. First, we would like to insert an ID of 1, name, Robert, instrument, vocals, number 2, ID 2, name, Larry, Larry Kent, instrument, drums, born 1988. ID 3, name, Danny Brown, instrument, bass, born 1990. ID 4, name, Brandon Jacobs, instrument, guitar, born 1985. ID 5, name, Ari Lance, instrument, keyboards, born 1994. ID 6, name, Jeff, Kelly, vocals, born 1990. ID 7, name, Mark, Thomas, instrument drums, born 1987. ID 8, Steve, Judd, instrument, bass, born 1984. Close bracket, close parenthesis. Now let us verify that all of our code is in the correct format. We have commas everywhere and quotations everywhere that is needed. For ID number 1, we have the name of Robert Van. Instrument, vocals. Quotations, quotations, single quote. I made a typo. Should be double quotes. ID number 2, Larry Kent, comma, instrument, drums, comma, born 1988, comma. ID number 3, Danny Brown, quotations, comma, instrument, quotations, comma, born 1990, comma. ID number 4, name, Brandon Jacobs, quotations, comma, instrument, quotations, born, comma. ID number 5, Ari Lance, instrument, quotations, comma, 1984, comma. ID number 6, name, Jeff Kelly, instrument, vocals, born 1990. ID number 7, Mark Thomas, instrument, drums, born 1987. ID number 8, Steve Judd, instrument, bass, born 1984. So all of the information is correct. All of the syntax, such as quotations, are correct. The 1 or 2 errors I had at single quotes, I corrected those. Here's one I missed. Here's a single quote. Make that double quotes if you made the same error because you were following me. Let's just verify again. Let's add a space next to name. Everything looks good. Let's add a space next to date of birth for those where it does not exist. Everything looks good. We have an open parenthesis, an open bracket. We have a closing bracket and a closing parenthesis. So let's go ahead and copy this. Right-click, copy, and paste it into the MongoDB console. Now, to recall, this is a new collection. This is not the same collection we were working with before. The collection we worked with before was the bands collection, which kept information about band members and events that they performed at. This is a different collection in the same database of music, but the name of this collection is musicians. This collection consists of different musicians that have also worked with us in the past. So we did not create a collection called musicians. We did not do create collections and just have an empty collection. Instead, we're going to insert directly to the collection. And being that the collection does not exist, Mongo will automatically create that collection for us. Let's go ahead and do this. Copy the code, right-click copy, and go into the MongoDB. First, let's do show collections. And right now, the show collections, we only have bands. Now we're going to create a new collection and insert all of this information at the same time. We copy the information, we paste the information, and immediately when you paste the information, it was inserted and we got a successful acknowledgement. Acknowledged true, inserted all of the IDs from 1 to 8. It's printing 1 to 8 because we selected a predefined ID of 1 to 8. If we did not enter the ID field here, an object ID will automatically be created for us. And instead of just 1 to 8, it will be a longer ID code, an automatic generated code generated by MongoDB. But now we have created two collections within our database. We have successfully created both of these collections. Let's try the previous command show collections again. Press up once, press up a second time, show collections, hit enter, and this time we have two collections in our music database. We have a collections of bands, of different bands that we know and we work with, and we have a collections of musicians. Different musicians, all who have a particular ID because we assign them a specific ID. Let's go ahead now and look at both of these collections in our musician database using Mongo Compass. Now open Mongo Compass, and the last time I was in Mongo Compass, we were reviewing the code from the bands collection. Click refresh, and as soon as you click refresh, you will see that the musician collection appears. Let's click on the home tab of music, and now we can see information about our database. And this is why MongoDB is such a great tool, because if you're learning MongoDB for the first time, like we are in this class, or like I did when I studied computer science, everything I had to do from scratch. I did not have access to MongoDB at that time, but then over time it became more popular and this application came out, and now it's easier to help people learn MongoDB and to read MongoDB even if they don't know it 100%. It's a great tool. So let us look at this database. We have the music database and we have the bands collection and the musician collection. Let's look at the musician collection because we just created this collection. The musician collection consists of 8 different musicians. We have their ID, we have their name, we have what they specialize in, and the year they were born. Some of the fields we do not have all of the information, and this is fine. When working with a structural or a relational database, You also have the option to leave some fields blank. However, when you create those databases and you want to have the option to leave a field blank, you must indicate that in the structure of creating the table. You must indicate if something is null or not null. If something is not null in a relational database, information must be provided every single time. If there's no indication of not null, then you have the option of not providing information in a relational database. This is the difference between a relational database and MongoDB. In MongoDB, we do not have to fulfill all of those data structures as a standard relational database. We can create collections, we can create documents, we can assign a ID. We do not have to assign a ID. We can leave some fields blank. That is the beauty of MongoDB. Now let's take a look at the list. And the list in MongoDB will just give us basically a list of all of the information that we have. But for the list of musicians, we did not embed any information. At least we did not do that yet. We will do that later in this course when we start speaking about relationships. Let's take a look at the band collection one more time. Here's the band table. We have 10 different bands. Some of the fields are available and some are not. Some has an array with embedded information. If we go to the list, we can see a list of all of the bands. And then we can see a list of all of the different bands that has embedded information or embedded documents. Okay, so this is the end of our first section of creating a database together. We have successfully created the music database. We created a standard bands collection, and then we created a standard musician collection. In the next section, we will begin working with MongoDB to query information out of the database. And then, in the final section of this course, we will return to our collections, the music collection and the band collection, and we will insert more information. We will insert more information again to create relationships. And once we've created relationships, we will learn in MongoDB how can we retrieve information based on those relationships. Those relationships are similar to a relational database, except there are no joins. In a relational database, you always have to join tables together by using a primary or a foreign key. In MongoDB, we can escape that difficult task. We can cut it out, basically, save the time, and we can create simple relationships and we can access those relationships. In the next video, we will begin section 2 and we will begin writing queries in MongoDB. Thank you, and I'll see you then.